If you would stand and face the flag, we're going to ask Tootie to say the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we start down our agenda this evening, first order is approval of the regular meeting minutes from January 3rd, 23. So
moved.
Motion by Billy, second by Clayton. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is the approval and ratification of bills, which you have attached to your packet there, and everybody did get these in advance, so they've had an opportunity to look at them before actually getting here today. So entertain a motion to approve the bills.
I'll make a motion.
Clayton, got a second?
Second.
Tootie, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we've got time allotted here for visitors. Is Alan Edwards wants to address the council about a section of highway from 1214 to the bypass. So
Yes.
come on,
Yeah,
come on up,
here.
Alan. Is his mic on?
It
or-
is, I turned
okay.
it on.
Appreciate this. I know it's nothing the city can do, but I think it's something if we want to grow as a community, we need to start addressing some issues now. And I'm sure Harold is aware that RECC traffic that travels down 1214 from basically their entrance to the bypass, that's really too narrow for trucks of that nature to be traveling. It is in the city limits, but the city can't do anything about it because it is a state highway. I think the city needs to start making plans now, try to work with the state so they can budget it, just like you all are having to budget things, so they can, with the Lee Farm selling off now, there's gonna be more interests wanting to go in on 1214. It's nature's that stuff. We have the water district office there now, which has brought in more traffic. We've lived there roughly 15 years now in Dr. Lee's old house. The time we've lived there, I would bet the traffic has increased 3 to 4 times what it was when we moved in there because of the shortcuts people take to the middle school, even semis, and why semis are cutting through there to go over and having to make the hard right-hand turn on the Salt River Road is beyond me. Yeah. So maybe that's something else the city needs to issue about no through traffic through town or something. I don't know. You know why they're doing that when they take the bypass all the way around and come right into Liggett and Platt and all these other, Core-Mark and all these other places. But I just thought I would bring that to the city's attention, know that myself and my neighbors are concerned about that because we are showing some growth on the bypass now, which means the more growth we have on the bypass, the more shortcuts are going to be taken across 1214. Right. And I know the city can't do anything per se on its own. I would like to see maybe the speed limit drop down to 45 because there's been several times I've called dispatch because you'll have these young guys lining their trucks up in front of my house and drag race down through there. So I've called several times on that, and my new neighbors, the Cannons, he also has a problem with that because he has 2 young children now, and you don't know when young children are going to venture off someplace. So just issues like that, I'd like to see the city maybe start working with the state to do something where they can budget it to widen that road as we as a town continue to try to grow. So I'd appreciate y'all maybe looking into that and at least trying to get the state to drop the speed limit down to below 55 anyway, because like I said, people take a shortcut. If they think they can save 5 seconds, they're going to do it. Yeah. That's just the way, nature of the beast. So.
Yeah. It should probably be 45 anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, David? I mean,
I agree.
I mean,
I agree. It needs to be slowed down out there.
That's
We
in the
run
city,
radar out
and
there. Yeah.
yeah, it's
We run radar out there quite often, but it needs to be dropped.
Wesley had talked, he and I talked earlier, he talked with someone with the state road department.
Yeah, I talked to one of the state engineers today, and they said there was nothing on the books. It probably wouldn't be for 1214 widening. And as far as the speed limit goes out there, there's a little process that we'd have to go through. The mayor has to request it through the district, chief district engineer at E-Town. They'll do a traffic count study and all that, and then they send it to Frankfurt, and Frankfurt has to okay it. But he said that wasn't anything that, if it's something coming from the city, they're probably more apt to look at it than it would be just an individual sending it to them. But,
Right, and that's why I wanted to bring the city's attention now on the widening. I know the state probably budgets is out 3 to 5 years or whatever, but if we continue to grow and development takes place there, then it might be too little too late. If they know that the city is concerned about the possible widening of the road, at least they have something on record where it's not something that they got to start from scratch and proceed forward the way things are nowadays.
Well, we'll move forward with the
Yeah.
speed limit thing, since Chief Riley thinks it'd be a good idea, and the people that live out there too, we'll move forward with that. Sounds like it's a process that might take a little time, so.
Yeah.
But we'll start that this week. We'll figure out what we have to
Well,
do.
you never know. One little accident can make people regret things that maybe could have been prevented, so
Exactly.
you just never know. So I appreciate
Sorry,
it.
sorry to hear about your barn too, Alan.
Well, it is what it is.
I know. It's tough though, I'm sure.
It just goes to show you need to pay attention to your dogs. Whenever they start acting weird, they're trying to tell you something.
Yeah,
You know, that 30 minutes that I kept telling him to quit, could have meant saving some stuff, so.
Yeah, well, thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate it.
Next in the visitors section, no, Tammy Salzman and Brittany Clemens want to address the council on the possibility or the working toward getting a recreational center here in the city.
Yes. So back in 2019, I came before some of you that were on the council and brought this to your attention. I thought it was something that we really need, so COVID hit, that put it on a halt, so I'm back. I feel this is something that a community needs for various reasons. My vision, as I stated back then, is I thought 2 full-size basketball courts that break down into 4 middle school courts with drop-down volleyball nets. This would allow us to host basketball tournaments and volleyball tournaments. And other use for the courts would be pickleball, archery, volleyball, trade shows, tournaments, cheer competition, and honestly, the list could go on. I also thought it possible of doing 2 indoor tennis courts, which could also double for pickleball. And an indoor soccer field, this is kind of an expensive source, but I think that there's things that we could work around with it. It could also be used for football drills and put our drop-down baseball batting cages or softball batting cages, because I think if we put them in the gymnasium, it'd be more of a hindrance. I definitely wanted to include an indoor walking track. If you've ever been down to Bevel Park, you can see the people, I mean, Denny's part of that walking crew. In the winter months, it's cold, rainy, they have no place to go. They can go to the churches, but if the church isn't open at time, they don't have anything. And I feel that's keeping our people healthy is very important, especially our elderly, and keeping them active. So the indoor, sorry, I jumped to the wrong thing. There would also be some meeting rooms that would be utilized in the building, because they could be used for hosting classes such as diabetes education, birthing classes. Local businesses can utilize them for the training or for meetings. I know we have the center on Main, but it is really a large room, and sometimes people just want the small room. We have talked about an indoor pool, still doing research on that. I've had some people say that it could be very pricey after 5 years of replacing equipment. However, I know I have big dreams. When I first started this off, I was told by somebody, dream big, be prepared to break down to something small, but never limit yourself not to be able to add on. I toured the Bowling Green Michael Buchanan building. They were great help, told me the pros and cons, the do's and don'ts. Denny and I went to Muhlenberg and toured their building, and we also went to Ohio County, which that's just a fitness facility, so really was not much to look at. But even the people in Muhlenberg gave us some do's and don'ts, what they would highly recommend that we not do, and things that they recommend that we would be great add that they had not done. Denny has reached out to various people in the community to see what their thoughts were on regarding a building, a rec center, and he received some really good outpouring support from Owensboro Health, Twin Lakes Regional Medical Center, and the Grayson County Health Care Foundation. And that's what I have Brittany here for, so she can explain what their involvement would be. But like I said, Denny has done quite a lot of stuff in the background, talking to different people and getting their opinions on it. So I will also, if Denny wants to offer anything that he had.
I spoke to quite a few people, and everybody's supportive. We went to talk to the school. The school was very supportive. I think they can do a lot of things to help with not necessarily funding to build it, but afterwards, a stream of income. They're very interested in using the facility they're just really in need, bad time, and Terry could probably speak to that more, but there's a really critical shortage for them. Owensboro Health was extremely supportive. They said they would do whatever they could. They would be more than happy to come down here and even speak to city council. Did speak with the county judge. I mean, everybody's for it. The thing that we have going for us now is we have funding that we never had available before, and Brittany can speak to that. But we also have funding from maybe tourism to help run it, and it's just, I think we're in a good position to do this. Right now, we're also really blessed to have some clout in Frankfurt. We have a lot of, with our state senator and state representative, they're really well thought of, and I think they have the capability, and speaking with them, of maybe helping us get funding through the state. So I think we have a better opportunity now than we've ever had because of that.
And it's something that, something that's been rolled around in the community for a while, and I think it's needed in the community, and I think it'd be welcomed in the community, so.
Well, my goal is just to get you approval to move forward, but I'd also like to, since Brittany took the time out of her evening to come, to explain to you what she could do.
So I'm the executive director of the Grayson County Healthcare Foundation. I had been approached by several individuals about this rec center idea, and then through investigation, I ran into Tammy and Denny, who also had been approached and were investigating. I did speak with the board for the Healthcare Foundation last week and did get approval to go ahead and start investigating, explore this option, see what costs would be, see what we would include, as Tammy mentioned, basketball courts, what would be feasible to include from a cost standpoint that we would be able to maintain. I think our next steps would be approval from the city to investigate, look at plans as far as what would be included, look at state and federal grant funding to see what funds are available outside of our local funding. And I don't have an official commitment from the Healthcare Foundation. They did say this would be something that they would support, but they wanted to see more of where we were going, what the cost would look like, more of that before they made any official commitment. But I do have approval to investigate at this point.
Okay.
One thing too, Brittany, they have some funding, and they also have some very unique property, which would be very beneficial. And I think we could probably maybe work out some type of arrangement to get the property involvement too. And we spoke with Owensboro Health, and they would be willing to help with that too. But that would be a really great place to start.
Yeah. Anybody got any questions for Brittany?
I got one for Tammy. The piece of ground you're talking about, is that ground over there now that's on the right-hand side before you make the turn?
At the aquatic, across from the aquatic.
Yes. they're on
And
the
that
right.
is owned by the Healthcare
Yes,
Foundation.
yes, it is. It'd be a good spot.
Yes, it would keep us all centrally located, and I would move my office over there so I could maintain it and run it through the day, which would cut some of the salaries down. So Christy and I would be there during the day, and then I would have Jody and them also part of that facility too. So that's my house.
Yeah.
And I do want to point out, our community health needs assessment the hospital is required to do as part of the Affordable Care Act identified that obesity, lack of physical activity in our community is one of our main issues here, as identified by our community members. So, this would be a really good option to help with that.
Okay.
So I think that's important to consider.
Yeah.
Brittany has some other expertise too. She was executive at Owensboro Health, but how would you think this would be a help, maybe to try to recruit as far as physicians, businesses from?
So I do. One of the main recruiting barriers that we face as far as our medical staff is looking at our community, because they want activities for their family to be able to be involved in. And a lot of times when we talk to medical staff, they even look at living in Elizabethtown. Well, we want them to live here. Right. So I think that definitely would be something that would appeal to them.
And I think that would apply to businesses too.
Yeah.
And I think this was looked at about 10 years ago with the hospital. There were a lot of private community donors that were interested in this as well.
Right.
So I think that it might be
This might be the
a
time.
good idea to talk to some of them as well, because I know that a lot of them have their eye on something like this.
Well, we appreciate all you do to help us along with this. And again, right now, is it fair to say we're just in the research phase?
Yes,
We're
definitely.
Looking at our options. So if you hear, tomorrow that we're building a new center, we're just looking right now, but we're very hopeful that we can get something like this done. And
Yes, and I
we're-
think our request tonight is just, we're asking for approval to investigate this, to see what the cost would look like and if it would be feasible for our community at this point.
And what type of grants, if we're able to apply for them, what type of grants we'll be able to
Okay.
pursue.
I think we kind of felt like it would be pointless if we didn't have at least the interest to do this.
Yeah.
If everybody was against it, then why go through with it? Because it's got to be run by the city,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and another thing, Tammy, I'm sorry, hogging the time, but another thing, Tammy and I, when we went to Muhlenberg, be a great place too. You could have like concerts, small concerts, like if we had bad weather up there. The way that was set up, it was pretty amazing. I would encourage everybody. It's just a really neat facility.
And they had opened up where we could, Michael Buchanan Building and Muhlenberg said if any of our city council wanted to go on their tour, just let them know. They would be there to give a nice tour, so.
Well, I'm going to keep gabbing, if that's okay. One other thing that was pretty amazing about it was when we talked to Muhlenberg, they said that they're completely booked for 2023, completely booked. And we went down and we said, well, we're going to kind of compete with you, and we appreciate you taking the time to do all of it. And they were great. They said, look, there's plenty out there for everybody. We're already booked for 2023. He said our biggest restriction is hotel space. He said if we had more hotel space, it would be even more than what we've got. So, point being, I think he called it, I never heard this before, sports tourism. And they're booked completely for an entire year. And talked to Bowling Green, they were booked for half a year, completely booked in advance. And I think they kind of cut it off at that point. But there's a need out there, and just for our community, and I think there's sources that we can help with the funding of it to operate it.
Yeah.
Once we get it built.
I'm very hopeful this time that we're going to be able to follow through. We appreciate Brittany's group helping with us too, so relay back to them that we're very appreciative of them
I will
for
do
allowing
that.
you to come out.
Think we
Could
could kind of get a vote to see
get a
if we
motion?
have an interest?
Oh, I think you got an interest with all this. I mean, I think it's part of your job anyway, so. But
Do we need to make an official
any kind of
motion?
adventure like
second?
that, you go for it. Don't come wait on us.
You can go ahead and make a motion just to allow them to research and bring back, maybe some numbers and.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Second by Gina, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Next on the agenda is to rescind motions for reappointing April Bowman to Planning and Zoning Commission and adding Tony Swift. Per KLC, we cannot reappoint or refill positions until after their term is expired. Their term actually expired on 12/31, and they were reappointed
Before.
several days before that, so,
The first meeting of December.
yeah.
Yes,
So,
first or second.
It was the first one. I went back and looked, Billy, up.
So you need a motion here?
yes,
Make a motion.
Billy's make a motion,
Second.
second by Tootie, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And with that in mind, staying in the same vein, we have 3 appointments to make to the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustments. Because of the 12/31 deadline for the 3, for the 3 spots. So, the first one I'd like to make is for April Bowman to replace Dennis Ventress for the remainder of his term, which will be through 12/31 of this year.
I make a motion.
Clayton makes a motion. Gina second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Did she not want a bigger term?
Well, what we did, Billy, we realized that there was a huge lack of experience on that commission. And I think Tyler would affirm, and Wes too, that experience in that position is important. So, the other people that I was gonna nominate, and I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll talk more about your question there. Kendall Clemens, he had previously left the commission. He agreed to come back. He's got many years of experience with that Planning and Zoning Commission, and I felt like he would be the one of the best people that we could get back on there. We've got a lot of good people on there. I think, just to say it simply, they've got a lot to learn, and they need somebody to learn it from. So, the other gentleman that I want to install on that commission is another one that's had a lot of experience with it, is Mark Buckles. And the only reason I would have for putting Mark and Kendall on the full term and April on the one-year term is, to put it bluntly, we need to keep that talent there as long as we can. Not to say that in a year, that we're going to boot April. That's not the point. It's just the point we've got two different directions to go there.
I make a motion.
Got a motion on the table. Second, I think we've.
What's your motion for?
Yeah.
What are you
First
making a motion?
First motion was to appoint April Bowman to
One
position that'll expire 12/31/23.
23 or 26?
23.
23.
23.
He's moving April to Denny's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, basically, that's what it is.
Well, Mayor, everyone knows that Denny's not able to be replaced.
We might have to look for another or two to, fill your shoes, but
His wife.
we'll get them filled up.
There is actually a legitimate reason too for discussion is there was an issue, I think, early, if I'm not, I think only 2 members can come up by statute at a time. And I'm not sure if we're okay with that. There were some members coming
No,
up maybe.
I
We
looked
looked
at
at
that.
that?
We're good on that.
Okay, so that's not an issue. That was concern before. I think it was consideration that maybe we had maybe more than 2 people that were going to be coming up at a time. And the statute, I believe early, if I'm not correct, says only 2 people can come up for reappointment.
Yes, there can only be a full appointment every two years. That way it puts them on a rotating, that way you don't have a bunch of vacancies all over.
Right.
So you can't replace 6 members in 1 year.
Right. Yeah.
But we're okay with that.
Yes.
So, any other questions, Billy or Terry, anybody? Dude? Like Gina?
No, but I just, like Judy was asking, 23 or 26, because it says 26.
Well, if you go down to the last one,
Right.
it says
Dennis,
Dennis
right,
Ventress, remainder of
through
term
12.
through. So let's go back. I'm gonna entertain a motion to appoint April Bowman to the remainder of Denny's term, which would end 12/31/23.
I make-
So Clayton made a
We
motion.
did that, didn't we?
Yeah.
We voted on that.
Okay, so we're good there. Okay. All right.
And you were good with that one, right, Billy? 'Cause
Yes.
I know you had that
Okay.
question. Okay.
The second one, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mark Buckles to the commission for a term that will go through 1/1/23 through 12/31/26. Got a motion?
So you're making a nomination.
Yes.
I make a motion.
Clayton, got a second?
I'll second it.
Tootie, all in favor?
Who,
Aye.
who we voting for on this?
Mark.
Mark.
Okay.
The next nomination I'd like to make is for Kendall Clemens to be appointed to that board to serve a term, same term, 1/1/23 to 12/31/26. Clayton?
Motion.
What was this change of heart?
I'd rather talk to you about that after the meeting, really, because I haven't had a discussion with him about what all that he'd want to share with, you know, so I'll be glad to talk to you about that later on. Wasn't anything, any demands or anything like that. It was just, I think he felt like he served his time, then he had a reconsideration of being able to come back and be a part of the experience and the help that the commission will need. So, Clayton made the motion. Gina, didn't you second that, Gina? So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, one question on that planning and zoning. I know we can have 2 members outside the city limits.
Honestly,
That gives us
Clayton.
3 now.
Okay, can the chairman though?
We don't have to have the third one though.
Yeah,
No.
right.
No.
Doesn't have to
We
have.
don't have to fill that.
No. Is Kendall in town?
Kendall's in the
I was
city,
thinking he
yeah.
was out of
Can-
town. Okay.
Yeah, but can the chairman has to be a city?
The 3
No.
positions.
No.
We looked into all this not too long ago, Danny had asked me about it, and it's always been interpreted that the way that KRS reads it, 2/3 has to be citizen members, and the interpretation was citizen members live inside the county, non-citizen members citizen members residing in the city, non-citizen members residing in the county. But when we looked deeper and we saw the definitions in KRS, that led us to believe that a citizen member was anybody as long as they weren't an elected official, an appointed official, or an employee of the city.
Makes sense, so.
It does, but it also makes sense. This is a city. Our citizens are the city.
Right.
Outside citizens are county people. I'm sure that's the way it was interpreted then and has been. You know, we don't, I mean, we're in the county, but we're the city. These are city ordinances.
yeah. But I think what we were going by was basically the statute, and honestly, Earl may have a different opinion, but my reading of the statute and our ordinances, there's really no restrictions.
There's no restriction in the way the ordinance is written now. Now, and this is later in the agenda, but there's there's 2 ordinances on for first reading. Of course, we'll read both of them, but one lays out some further restrictions. This was just some ideas, Denny had that he wanted to present to the council, so I went ahead and typed it up where we could do it first reading, but it's up for discussion tonight of how the council wants to look at that. But I've typed up some restrictions about, officers having to be within the city limits, and then 2/3 of members, residing in the corporate limits, and, members had to meet a minimum qualification, but that's up to debate of how you wanna do it. I know Denny had approached me, so I went ahead and typed it up to be presented tonight, but you all can have a discussion here a little bit.
I agree with Billy. Up until a point, I think we're well-served to have mostly city residents on those commissions. We have set precedent in the past that we've had people that lived outside the city on other commissions. It's never been any type of problem that I've experienced, but we definitely want to take, you know, we want to put the best people that we can get on there. I mean, that's the bottom line, but we
Who
certainly
sets their
should consider.
qualifications?
Excuse me?
Who sets their qualifications? She said qualifications. Who makes a guideline for what it takes of their qualifications to be?
I think what she was referring to was the requirements in the proposed ordinance that, you know, either you live in the city,
Yes.
you own a business in the city, or you own
I
property.
understand.
Or you operate a business in the city.
Yeah, and if you look on that D, it lays out what they had wanted to discuss tonight was, under D, they would have to meet the qualifications, reside within the corporate limits of the city, own or operate a business, profit within the corporate limits of the city, own real estate within the corporate limits, or that you're an employee of a business. And then also, the restriction of 2/3 of the members of the planning commission shall reside within the corporate limits of the city. And then under F, officers of the planning commission shall consist of the chairman, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and must reside within the corporate limits of the city. So those were some, considerations that, were put together tonight, and I went ahead and typed up and bring to the council, that I think council member interest wanted me to bring. So,
And I think we always look for somebody, a city resident, but we also, the people that own business, own property, that work in the city. I think they should have some say too, or some, you know, some ability to serve. So that's kind of what Erling was talking about there, that,
and if there's some certain sections, I mean, you vote, and I'm not telling you, I'm just giving options. If you wanted to pick and choose on this, you could do that. I think, it's up for discussion tonight of how you all want to handle it, so. But if you don't vote for any restrictions, basically, there's no restrictions in place then, so.
If we're going to discuss these on D, 2, 3, and 4, I'm not opposed to that, but I think I would still like to see the words live in the county. Because otherwise, I'm reading this, and they could come from anywhere. And I don't know, that's just my thoughts, that while you might own real estate here, you might live in Hardin County, or you might live in Bowling Green. And I don't know that.
I agree with that.
I'm in
I agree
favor
with that.
of that.
no.
I mean, if you.
That's a self-fix for us, though. We're voting on them.
Yeah, that's
I-
easy.
I
I mean,
understand.
it's,
But I think she makes a good point.
It is a self-fix, but
Yeah.
I don't understand why we would even have that out there if you can eliminate it to start with.
Right. And if we're looking at and researching things like that, we need to take care of those things now rather than later, so.
But to me, I'd like to at least,
Say county
yeah, I
and
mean.
not say Hardin County.
Right.
And if I could, Mayor, that was kind of the reason I kind of brought this up, because we're going to talk about it tonight on the full year, and I thought, let's just get it out there so we don't have to keep bringing it piecemeal back and forth. And some of this stuff, I'm not really for, actually, even though it's my words, thanks to Earlene for doing it, but it's all for discussion, and, but we do have to, there's one thing we do have to change is, the KRS, and Erling can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but.
Yes, and if you see the second, because there's two, this is the bare qualifications of what we need to change to get us in compliance with the KRS. So, and that's changing it to, 4 years, which is not in the ordinance right now. And there's not language saying that the mayor, appoints and then the council approves. That's not, right now it just says the council, approves. So to be in compliance with the KRS, the mayor actually has to appoint. So those two changes are in that. The second one adds the additional qualifications, and restrictions about, that we just went over.
Strictly by the words of the ordinance, so actually, you could have the mayor not involved at all. You could have just the city council approved, the way the ordinance was written.
Yes.
That's the way
And-
the ordinance is.
And that's
And it's not how
incorrect.
we were doing it, it's not how KRS.
So that's why we have to change that, the two that, Arlene. If I could, maybe I'd give you all my opinion on, I think, the Grayson County requirement, I think that's an excellent idea. The first, on the, who can eligible meet one of the requirements, so I think it was, somebody mentioned having to be an employee. I'm okay with that. The one, 2, and 3 are the main ones I feel that we need to have. Either you reside, you own and operate a business, or you own property. I think you need at least one of those 3. The officers of the planning commission must be live in the city. I'm actually against that. And the reason that came about is because the KRS states that the officers cannot be, they must, the citizen members. To be officer, you must be a citizen member. So that's for the KRS. And it makes sense because you don't want an elected official to run the planning and zoning. So that's why that's in there. I would be against that. I do like maybe the 2/3 be residents. So that would allow for 2 non-Leitchfield residents to be on it. But that's where all this came from me. But again, my opinion is eliminate F. D4, I can live with either way. Jenna's recommendation about the Gregson County, I think needs to be included. I would agree with that.
I would also. Anybody else have any thoughts at this time? We don't have to necessarily make any decisions tonight. I know probably this is the first time a lot of you have seen it, so I know we've talked before about making decisions with a 5-minute information session. We can table it and let everybody read it and think about it, bring it up to the next meeting. We can address it tonight. It depends on what you guys think. I think the 3 things that Denny and Gina have addressed definitely need to be changed. I would strike D4. I would strike the last sentence of F. And I would add the requirement that they must live in Grayson County. Those are my opinions on what we've got here, so.
On E,
Anybody else?
I would like for us to leave in the words, at least 2/3, because that's kind of, that means we can have more than 2/3. We just have to have at least 2/3, so we're not tied to
Right,
certain
yeah,
people just because of where they live.
right.
Yes.
I agree. What do you think, Toots?
I think I agree with you. One thing I wanted to ask though, Denny, why would you not want your officers to be from the city limits?
Why not? My opinion on that is to get the best person. If you've got somebody that's extremely qualified, even though they don't live in the city limits to be an officer, that was my opinion on it.
Okay.
And again, I understand where KRS was coming from on their restriction to citizen members. But that's my opinion too.
And I agree with Denny, and one of the reasons why, I guess, is, as he said, we want to have the best person there, and the most experienced person there. Now, that doesn't mean they get to vote, that commission gets to vote who their officers are. So we can't do that for them. We can suggest, I'm not going to suggest to them, but, you know, in the end, it'll be up to that specific commission to
And to me, if they're good enough to be on the committee, who are we to say?
well, it's, the planning and zoning is
That
a
they
little.
make their own decisions
Yeah.
about who's the chairperson, so if we think they're
Well,
qualified enough to be on the
The
commission.
way it is, all 3 Litchfield citizens would be an officer, right? Is that the way it is, Danny?
That's the way it is.
One of them would be,
the way-
No,
It just, it depends
actually,
on,
You mean, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Currently, yeah, there's no, anybody could be an officer.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
currently.
No, I understand that. But how many appointments do we have for the city on there?
We'll be,
Full county commissioner?
we'll be in compliance, right, with the new ordinance? If this goes through, we only have 2 non-Litchfield citizens on the planning and zoning. If this goes through, if everybody's voted on,
If
Is
the
voted.
members stay, not necessarily the people, but if we keep 2 county members and the rest citizens, if you go with that, you've got 5 people to choose from. The other 2 would be considered if they had to reside in the city.
I see where you're coming from.
If you open it up, then all 7 members would be considered for an officer.
And I guess technically there's 3 officers, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I say we table it if we don't have to make a decision. And have time to read it thoroughly, think about it, and
Well, if you do a first reading now and then we want to change it for next one, we got to do a first
Yeah,
reading
do
again.
the first reading on it.
Yeah, I agree.
But the only thing we can change from a first to second reading is a typo,
I understand.
small typo, so.
you know.
And even if we, and right now, the people that's been appointed will be in compliance with the new ordinance anyway.
Right.
So we don't want to be in a position where people's not in compliance, so we'll be okay to table it so they can go ahead and start the February meeting.
Or read it.
Okay, so I'll take a motion, I guess, to table this item till the next meeting. Clayton, any second?
No, second.
Tootie, second, all in favor?
Aye.
So just, if you would, just, study the things, jot down any questions you might have. We'll address it at the next meeting, and hopefully we can come to a conclusion then. But, like I say, we definitely want, the planning and zoning is a little unique in the fact that it's got a lot of rules, and it takes years to become, adept at all that. So, with the leaving of 2 of them, one of them, I don't know if they'll miss or not. Just kidding, Dan.
Thank you, Mayor.
But we lost a lot, in other words, we lost a lot of experience when they left, so.
Can we still do this other one?
Yes. The second final reading.
Gotcha.
You want to do the second and final reading of code enforcement?
Summary of an ordinance amending an ordinance relating to compensation of code enforcement board, whereas city of Leitchfield may exercise. I've been fighting a cough all day, so bear with me here. Summary of an ordinance amending an ordinance relating to compensation of code enforcement board, whereas the city of Leitchfield may exercise its power in furtherance of public policy purposes. Whereas the city has the power to set reasonable compensation to those who are appointed to serve on boards for the city of Leitchfield, and now therefore be it ordained by the city of Leitchfield, Kentucky, that ordinance 2021-11 passed November 1st, 2021 shall be amended as follows, with added portions being underlined and deleted portions being indicated by a line drawn through them and encompassed by brackets enclosing them. Section 4, appointment of members, terms of office, removal from office, oath, compensation. Section 8, members of the Code Enforcement Board shall be reimbursed for actual expenses shown by proof and compensated in the amount of $50 per month. Duly enacted on the 17th day of January 2023 after first being read on the 3rd day of January 2023. You just need to take a vote at this time.
Yeah, I need a first and second, then individual
Mm-hmm.
votes.
Okay. Clayton first. Gina second. So we'll go around the room. Denny?
Aye.
In favor.
Okay. Clayton?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like the ayes have it. Okay. Discussion, more changes for planning and zoning ordinance. I think we've got that so far, so. First reading of amended planning and zoning ordinance for amending term lengths. So,
I think we just went ahead and tabled it for the next, so
Yeah.
I'll make those changes and we can have it ready for first reading at the next
All right.
meeting.
Thank you, Arlene. Okay. Along with your agenda, you should have the bill packet here. November 2022 financial statement. But I trust that everybody's had a chance to look at that. Do we have any questions for Lori on that item?
I think we'll have a lot of questions when we get to the budget committee meeting, but for now, I'm good with that.
Gina? Clayton?
I don't have any.
No.
Okay.
We just
All
need a
right, so I'll
motion.
So moved.
move Billy,
Second.
second Tootie, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Unfinished business, we'll go around. Billy, do you have any?
No, sir.
Okay. Terry,
No.
Tootie,
No, sir.
Clayton?
No, just that light I was talking to you about out there at, going into Fountain View.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll check on that this week. I'll check on it and see.
Yeah, there's several citizens out there, it's not lit up very good, and they're just are concerned.
We've had a couple of requests to light up the entrance there by Watson and Hunt. And right now, there's no power lines close. There's telephone poles and lines sitting out there where they've moved them off the right of way. But there's really no power lines there close enough. So to get a light out there right now, I'm thinking the city would have to hire them to set a pole, hang a light and all that. Might be pretty expensive for a temporary fix, because I think when all that's finished,
There'll be a
we'll see
light.
street lights and all that down through there. So I'll look into that though this week and drive out, see what it looks like, and then maybe have a conversation with the power company. Okay. Unfinished business.
I would just like to talk about a discussion about the broadcasting of our other public meetings that we have,
Okay.
planning and zoning and code, so that they're open to the public. Is there a way to get those broadcast, or so that we can see those, or the public can see those?
That's what we've got in new business down here. We've got something, I think it's the same. Yeah, that's okay.
Hey, can we use Channel 2 now that it's back?
Can. I was talking
If
to
nobody
Harold about-
knows, we got Channel 2 back. So,
Yeah. The only thing I was talking to Harold about, the way they explained to me, is I would have to go in there and preset time limits for the meeting. So it's not a big deal, because I know what time it's gonna start. I can start it at 6. But then I have to guess at what time we're gonna be done. So
I
I'm
understand.
gonna have to let it run long, and it's gonna record. So what Harold and I was talking about, was if we kill the mics, that should kill all the audio once the meeting's done, because people standing around in here talk, you don't want that broadcast
Right.
out there. So we gotta figure out a way to make sure that the broadcast stops if we do that, if we're gonna do them live on Channel 2. And then I was gonna talk to, the guy that's helping me to see if I can just download or upload the YouTube and play it like the next
Yeah,
couple days
that's
all day
more
long.
what I was talking
Yeah.
about, more than,
Yeah, so I'll.
live's gonna be a lot of money, I would say, with cameras and,
Well, I mean, it'll do it
just-
from.
You just run
what
off
we
the
Same
signal
thing.
here, yeah. They just patch this signal into it.
Yeah,
What, Billy, I'm sorry, what is Channel 2? Is that
it's on,
Comcast?
on Xfinity
information
cable.
channel.
Yeah, cable on this,
Through Comcast?
through Comcast,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah, and I know talking about Channel 2, several people has asked about the music, so me and Harold were talking about that actually before the meeting. So I'm gonna get with Mark just to make sure he doesn't care that we broadcast K105 on it, because we have to have his approval to do that, you
Right.
know. There's laws there that we have to have his approval to do it. So I'm gonna get with him on that, and then I'll get back with Mike is who I'm dealing with, I think it's Elon Engineering. Sometimes it takes him several days to get back to me, because he's got some health issues that he's battling, but he always gets back to me within a week, so it may take me just a little while to figure out how to
put our meetings from YouTube on Channel 2 and get the music and stuff on
There's
there.
probably more people got access to YouTube than they do Comcast cable.
Well, what I was telling Harold, you got some of our elderly community that doesn't do anything with the internet and stuff.
You're
that
exactly
have
right.
cable that may want to view it, so, I mean, that would at least benefit them to be able to
Yes,
see it.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up, Billy and I grew up, it was on there, you know,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, our slides are working on Channel 2.
Oh, yeah,
I've got
it-
them, I've got to
yes.
get them updated.
so
For the
Warren,
rest
you're
of the
gonna
month.
you're gonna check on that and take
Yeah,
care of that then?
I'll
Okay.
get with Mike on that.
All right, thank you. Unfinished business.
I'm good, Mayor, thanks.
Okay. All right, we're on to new business. We'll discuss the things here that are on the agenda, and then we'll go around and see if anyone else has any new business. First one on the agenda is discuss the creation of a small business advisory committee board. I will say this, and then Denny, I think, had asked to put this on there for discussion. To me, and what I've studied on a board like this, and maybe we don't need a board or a commission or something, maybe more in the way of a list of volunteers that could mentor people with experience and that for small business owners, heck, large business owners, whoever, you know, in the business community in the city. We've all got people that we can learn from their experience and their past experience and their, you know, so I think that is what I have in mind when I read that sentence there. Denny?
I had that, but a little bit more too than that. What brought this about was when campaigning, I had a lot of people come around that had small business and it felt like they were being left out, honestly, that nobody, you know, they hear about the big employers, but the mom and pop businesses, they just felt left out. So, of course, I'm going to start asking questions, so I said, well, are you involved in the Chamber of Commerce? Because I think April does a pretty good job up there, and that would be something that makes sense to me. And their response was pretty much the same for the most part. I don't have time, because it's just me, or I don't feel like it's for me. But the idea was, at least in my mind, is maybe we need some more communications with the business people. And it doesn't have to be a advisory committee board, but just something that, and I think the mayor had a good idea. Send letters out. Just communication between small businesses. Say, okay, this is what we need to improve on. What do you think the city needs to do? What's the city doing right? What's the city doing wrong? How can we help? Just to get started with the conversation, and that way people don't feel left out. And I always tell the story, when I was working, we had 3 offices in 3 cities. One mayor come around every month and said, how you doing, Denny? What do you need? And guess what? We moved our main office there. You know, it just makes sense, and it makes sense for us to be proactive in asking people, how can we help? But as far as having a, you know, if maybe send out a letter, see what the business is like. If they like the idea of having an advisory, and which would be no authority to do anything, they would just say, okay, we would like to see you maybe look at parking on the square, something like that. But not anything formal necessarily, but just for us to reach out to the small business people besides the
I think
the big
like a liaison between
Right.
the small, it's exactly what it is.
Exactly,
And
exactly
and
right.
Dudley was pretty good at it. Dudley was real good at it, and we've just not had nobody fill his shoes like he committed to us. And I agree. There
They
needs
just-
to be somebody that,
They just feel left out.
sure.
Couldn't there be somebody from the tourism board do that?
That's really not, yeah. Jenna can speak to that better than I could. She was on it.
I mean, I'm sure they do their part when people come in and they reach out and they work hard in the community, but it's not really their primary.
Yeah, no, not tourism.
not
Tourism would.
And I think,
And I noticed the chamber, in their newsletter today, they had, they're offering a small
Small
business
Yep.
gathering. And
Yes.
I forget right now what it is.
Pop-up
but Pop-up. thank you.
something, yeah.
So they are doing that,
Which is great.
but I think, you know.
Small
what-
business
what comes to
pop-up
mind-
Saturday or something like
Right,
that,
small
wouldn't it? Yeah.
business pop-up Saturday, but in my mind, I think that, you know, while we can work toward having them make their own community, whatever you wanna call it, they can come together. But I think as far as maybe we could offer them a placement
Right.
or
Maybe.
something like that, but I don't think, you know, we could volunteer to help them, but as far as a board or something,
Yeah.
I don't see that.
I agree. But we always, the goal is, I think, is to be as business-friendly as we can
Right.
possibly be to large business, small business, any business in town. So, I think that's my goal anyway. I think that's everybody here's goal.
Oh, our small business makes this community.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
You know, around 2017-ish, the city actually sent out a survey to all of, well, everybody who got a garbage, water, sewer bill. It was in our bill. And it asked citizens about, you know, what, we ranked things of like importance and, you know, what we needed and what would make our community better. Maybe we could do something like that strictly aimed at small businesses. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around any type of advisory committee for small businesses because small businesses are so broad. I mean, that envelops every small business in our community, all the way down to, you know, mechanics and garages, to hair salons, to the coffee shop. I mean, it's not just our little, you know, our stores that we have on the square. It's our entire community.
Right.
And I don't, you know, I feel like even if we have an advisory committee board, then we're still going to have a lot of small businesses left out. So maybe reach out and find out, you know, what they do need, what they would like to see us, what we could do for them. But the chamber offers a tremendous amount of resources to them, not just locally, but they, there's something in E-Town, I looked it up, that's affiliated with the chamber, and whatever it is in E-Town represents several surrounding counties and districts that's specifically for small businesses and giving them resources and helping them with everything from new loans to helping their business to become more productive. That's just my thoughts.
I think you're correct, and again, I don't foresee a board or a commission or anything like that. Maybe the city's role can be to facilitate getting two people together as far as a business owner and maybe someone more experienced or something.
And also to make us aware of their concerns.
Right.
I mean, it's basically informational, and we have I guess the people have a business license, right, Laura?
Yeah.
How hard would it be to maybe get that group together, a list of people who have a business license, and then maybe we could draft a letter even, or something like that? Would that be difficult to do?
Yeah, they should be able to pull that, but you keep in mind, like, a lot of these places, like even on the square that has different businesses in it, only one person has a business license, so you're still gonna miss a bunch of people even doing
Yeah.
that. But I mean, that would at least get it out to a broad range of people, but
Yeah.
we're not gonna get everybody.
Have any idea how many we're talking about if we did something like that? Just,
It's in that report that they did, when they did the leadership committee, I don't remember the name of it. It was held in here a couple of times last year.
Leadership Grayson County?
I don't remember. Jessica did a lot with it. She led a lot of it. Anyway, I think it was KLC hired out somebody to do a report on Litchfield, our
When
growth.
she was doing the strategic
Yes,
planning.
yes, that was it. But in that report, it lists how many small businesses we have, which was, when I read it, I couldn't believe that was even true, because it was like several hundred that were listed as small businesses, and out of those several hundred, the number of like veteran-owned small businesses was just astounding. Like, I don't know where they got their information. I'm sure it was factual, but the numbers are much larger than what we could even think they would be, but it's all in there.
Yeah, I'd say we have several hundred business licenses. Me and Harold will probably start signing those within the next couple weeks, because they're all due this month, but I'm gonna say there's several hundred,
They would want through like a box and a half,
yeah.
so that's
We-
like 800.
That's 800 then, yeah, I was gonna say,
We've
because,
grown tremendously
Yeah.
since.
And again, I think anything we can do to benefit the business community. I had a CEO when I started at Warner Electric, and he ended every meeting with, "You're good, but you can be better." And I think that's the point more than anything to me is, I think we do a good job of communicating with the businesses and being a part, letting them know they're a part of the community and we care about them. But we can do better if we want to, so.
We could even highlight businesses on websites or stuff like that,
Well,
or even
I talked to-
encourage them to contact us or.
I talked to the
issues.
website guy, that's the guy that's redoing our website last week, and last Friday, he was here when he
Yeah,
was. And I asked him, one of the things I'd like to do is have a small business spotlight on our
Yeah.
homepage. He said that was no problem at all, so maybe if we can figure out if we want to do something weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, to highlight a business, let them tell their story and some things, so things like that, just to be able to include them and let them know that we're on their side, so.
Can you put like a registry of them on there,
that's where I was saying the
for
list.
small businesses?
We can probably get an Excel spreadsheet together and put on the webpage.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be a problem. I
No,
mean, he talked
Here's
like
our
there
small
was endless
businesses, or here's his
possibilities of
business
what we could do,
in this
yeah.
community, and
Yeah, he talked like this, when he gets done with this one, there'll be endless things we can do with the website, so, be anxious to see what he
We
comes
should
up
be
with,
able
but
to
things
make a
like that, we
PDF and
can.
Put it on there without a problem.
Okay, just, food for thought, and, we'll continue this discussion, I guess, between one another and with some small business people, see what they think. I think we get their input, we'd be
We
well
got
served
Alan
to.
sitting down here.
Right,
What do you think, Alan?
I think it'd be good, I mean, you have a small business, you kind of feel like a team on sometimes whenever you look at some of the other businesses that have connections and their growth continues to, they just continue growing. Someone, we need to think about our young people who are leaving high school that have good heads on their shoulders. We need to have something in place where if they go get their business license, they come back and they open up a business and start it back here in their hometown. They need to have that backing behind them to help them bring that to fruition. So there's several different aspects.
Right.
It would be good for the city to get involved to help the small business.
anyone else? Okay. Discuss broadcasting the Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustments and Code Enforcement meetings on YouTube. That has been mentioned to me, and I would personally add utilities meetings to that list, just to be uniform and broadcast all of our meetings.
agreed.
My questions personally, and then we'll go around, but who would take control of that? Whose job would that be, basically? That's the main question is,
Who's gonna do it, yeah.
because you've not got any, Tyler,
trying
I
to get
didn't.
Tyler to
I
raise his
didn't-
hand,
I didn't
but-
look, yeah, I
'cause
thought
he's
he
gonna-
raised his hand, I didn't know what that
I was
meant.
pointing at Tyler, because, he'll be in charge, he'll be there for three of them.
Yeah.
Code enforcement, planning and zoning, and board of adjustments, so that would be three, and Tyler would, I'm sure,
I think the mayor should be able to handle that one.
he
I
would
could
volunteer.
probably,
I mean, whether you assign somebody or what, I think that's you.
so we could get, if Tyler's involved in three of them, how much trouble would that be for you, Tyler? How much trouble would that be for him, Wesley?
Wesley, how much
Next
trouble
thing he's
is
gonna ask for more money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do what?
I said, Wes is doing it, he can teach me.
Okay.
And it's simple to get on the Restream app on your laptop or desktop and, schedule the meeting, because I have to do that in order for Wes to be able to broadcast it, but
Well, maybe Wesley wants to do it.
that's simple.
Don't let him have that gun, David.
I think Jenna's idea was a really good idea. The only issue I have is, I'm not sure we can get, tourism is here too, right? And they're under us.
Yeah.
I'm not
forgot
sure
about
the Utilities Commission, we would have the authority to make them do it. I think we could maybe pass a resolution to request them to consider doing it, if everybody else is doing it. I don't know, Early, maybe.
It would be under their derogatory of what they want to do. But you could pass a resolution saying we highly support, everyone else is going to be doing this. It's transparency, and I recommend that you look at doing that. And plus, also being a board member, that's something that could be brought up. You could take the resolution and say, you know, this is how we feel about it.
I think we do have a board member sitting here on the Utility
do.
Commission.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I'll work on that. We'll bring it up and see how they feel about it.
Does he vote?
Do we need
And I can draft that resolution. We can do it at the next
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
I make a motion that we draft a resolution.
Okay. I'll have that at the next meeting.
Do we need a vote on opening up the other?
I think
committees?
not until I have the resolution.
How about, the other ones? Board of Adjustments, Planning and Zoning?
We can go ahead and
Do that.
vote on that tonight.
And Tourism? I guess they're under our umbrella too, right?
Yeah.
May not be no more than utilities.
So there would be, I don't know.
They used to.
I think do those. I don't think tourism would have an issue with it.
Yeah, I don't
but-
think tourism will have an issue with it.
Well, I move we open up those four that we feel like we have the authority to open up,
And we'll address the fifth one and see how it goes.
and maybe pass a resolution for the fifth one. I'll
So-
make a motion first on the four that we do have, that we open them up.
Okay. Second. Clayton, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Start again here with new business. Any new business, Billy, do you have that's on the, Terry?
I don't.
Okay. Tootie?
No, sir.
One of the things that's been brought to my attention in new business is we seem to be getting, and I guess we notice it more during election time, but even past election time, other times we're getting a lot of signs on city right of way. We're getting signs that are being put on private property on the right of way, nailed to our utility poles. I don't know that we'll ever talk everybody into not doing that. Utility poles, in just being in that business, the reason they don't want you on them is it makes it dangerous for the guys to climb, you know, especially if you look at it one there, the corner of West Walnut and Main Street. I bet there's 1 million staples in that one, you know, and, you know, that's the reasoning on that, but,
Yeah, backing up on me, I did have a citizen that was concerned. I'm sure she was concerned with you too. They're just popping them on every corner, and I'm
Yeah.
sure Tyler can take care of that with,
yeah.
I mean, we have an ordinance for that, I think, especially on right of ways.
But I mean, it goes in there saying it can't be on city right away.
Right.
Certain signs in certain places, as long as it's not on the right of way state, it's the same thing.
It's just getting somebody to pick them up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is there any repercussions for doing it?
I don't know about the utility.
There are.
I mean, they're,
Can we put in
Fines.
something in the code enforcement that if there's a sign on a utility pole that we can fine for it?
Should be able to, yeah.
Because I mean, somebody's putting a sign up there, they got their name or phone number or something, if it's a danger to somebody else doing their job, you know, maybe we can at least eliminate that one. As far as the ones being on the right of way.
and we could encourage,
People to move them back, not just take them, you know, take them down, because that's still somebody spending money for
Right.
fixes that they're just not aware.
Well, I think what happened was there was a service offered that they just come in and start putting signs everywhere.
Them up.
There's a lot of, but some of these
Yeah,
places.
that's what they're mostly talking about, is the ones that just fly through here by night, and next morning you got 30 signs all through the city, and they're on the right of ways, and
And we don't want to punish anyone necessarily. We just want their signs to be put in the right place, just for the sake of not inconveniencing property owners. You know, in the summertime, we get those signs up, people will be mowing, city people will be mowing right of ways, things like that. So I guess that's something we can look at. And do we, what do we need to do with this?
If you want me to draft something and you want to look over it, and then if you like it, we can do a first reading the next meeting. I can bring like some kind of draft to the.
Wesley, you have somebody can pull signs?
Maybe, it just depends. I mean, it depends on what time of day it is and stuff like that. So, still kind of short on help now, so.
Well, what I envision, if you become aware of one, Wesley, if you become aware of one, Tyler, you guys don't have any time at all to do it, you might be able to ask Chief Riley, he got a man, he could pop out there when he's by there anyway, cruise, patrolling.
Just throw the truck, because we used to have a place at City Hall at one time
Yes.
where we put the signs, where people
Yes.
could go pick them up. And like Tyler said,
They
would
could
call
come and get them.
Yeah,
And, people go out and see their signs gone, they can check.
yeah.
See, it was more around election time whenever it was
Yeah.
happening, but, I mean, I've got a guy that mows the grass around here, and he really don't like it on the right way.
I don't know who that would be.
Well, they shouldn't be there anyway, so.
And it might be something as simple as, this is not something we've talked about a lot. It's not something that we talk about often at all, about putting signs on right-of-ways. They see one person does it, so everybody else does it, and they think that they can stick it right there between the grass and the sidewalk, and that's just public property. And well, it is, but it's not. And for example, on the corner of Mill Street and Wallace Avenue, right there on school property, but it's right there by the stop sign. We always have signs that are posted there for services, not for anything else, but advertising for services. And I think that they're not doing it because they're trying to break the law. I think maybe they just may have needed a reminder of, we do have ordinances against those things, and you're really not supposed to put any type of signs in that 6-foot right of way.
And we'll try to get you guys some part-time help during election years. But I agree with everybody. I think it's just a matter of, we're doing other things to try and clean up our city. To me, that's in the same vein as housing abatement and things like that, just to keep our city looking as neat and clean as we can. Okay, Clayton, you got any new business?
Wesley, out there, Fountain View Estates, go all the way out and turn right and go up the top of the hill and make that circle and come back. There's a section right out there that, you went out there once and moved that gravel. Are there any way to get some blacktop out there on that?
It won't stop the gravel, because the gravel's coming out of the guy's driveway. That's where all that gravel comes from. It
Oh,
washes out
okay,
of the
yeah.
last house's driveway.
Okay.
So even if we blacktop the street, his gravel's still gonna wash out into the street.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to fix that for him. I mean, it would be something he would have to do, but it needs to have some ditching or something to keep the water from running down his driveway out into the street.
Right, okay.
We'll look at it and see. I mean, we might can make
Okay.
some suggestions to him or something that can help him out.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Anything else, Clay? Gina?
No.
Dennis?
I'm good. Thanks.
Any of you guys over here got anything important to relay to the council? Everybody good?
Good.
I do. I got a few things.
Okay.
First, Terry, on the railroad crossing on Sunbeam Road, I've tried to get in touch with the railroad about 8 times so far. They're very hard to get somebody to answer you back. We used to have a contact there, but he doesn't work there anymore, so
Okay.
it's just, I'm still working on trying to find that out. The rumble strips on the end of the bypass, there's some already there. There's 2 sets that are there now. They're wore down pretty bad. And I talked to one of the state engineers today, and he's thinking that the bypass is scheduled maybe this year to be resurfaced. And they would redo all the intersections and put the new strips across, so that may help that. And Clayton, on the flashing sign that you'd asked about, I did ask about that. They said that that would be something that the mayor would have to request, and they would do a study on it, but they're about $4,000 a piece. And the last ones they put out in Hart County lasted 3 days, and somebody stole them. So they're very reluctant to put a $4,000 sign out there, but, you know, they would look into it or something, so. Also, there's the cans that we're getting, or that we do have now for all the residents. Once we get a list from the company we bought them from, they're working with us on an address list where we could go out and scan the can, and it would be at a certain address. So once we get that, we'll start trying to get things going to get those delivered. One other thing I wanted to ask you all about, and it was brought to my attention today. We had a resident that is building a new house, and they come in and pay for their services, which all they wanted was gas for the heat while they're doing their construction. The way the ordinance is now, they get charged for all the services, garbage pickup, I think water, Lori, and
Well, they don't get charged for water, but garbage
Garbage.
automatically goes on that.
automatically. So they ask about getting that waived until they actually moved in, because they may be another month or two before they're actually in that house. But the way the ordinance is set up to where we have to charge that with that. I didn't know if you all would be open to maybe amending that to residents that are under construction, that we could waive their garbage fee until they actually move in, or we would just rather leave it like it is.
I think it'd be a good idea.
I think the only place I would waive it would be for new construction area.
Right.
Just
Yeah,
to keep,
and that's
just to
what-
keep
yeah,
people
they've-
from taking
they've got the
advantage of
gas
it.
turned on for the heat, well, you know, I guess drywall dry, mud, stuff like that, while it's been cold.
Flooring,
and,
stuff like that.
You know,
so.
it still may be another 2 months before they're in it, but they'll get charged, you know, a monthly garbage bill that we won't pick up there until they actually move in.
They get a new can, though.
Once they move in. Yeah, I mean.
They'd be the first people I'd give them.
A new house, new can. So, but I told them I would ask. I mean, that's just the way the ordinance is right now, is, you know, if you come in and you have your gas turned on, you're automatically charged garbage too. But I didn't know if you all would be open to amending that to where under new construction or something like that, we could waive the garbage fee until, you know, we actually started picking it up.
I'm okay with doing that. We need to make sure that we keep up with it,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh,
As
my
far
guys,
as-
my guys on the truck will tell you that as soon as there's one person added, they'll come and check.
Okay.
Are they paying for it?
Yeah,
That needs to be relayed to, like, say we do it for this person.
Yeah.
You all are gonna end up sending something to Alicia and Tammy saying, hey, we're not gonna charge them. And it's gonna be your all's responsibility to make
turn it
sure
back
somebody
Once they
gets
start
with
picking
them to
up.
tell them, I mean, cause they're not gonna know when to turn it back on without
Right.
notification.
And I don't foresee, I mean, as you all know too, there's not an overabundance of new houses that get being built
right.
at one time in the city. But, you know, eventually there may be subdivisions and stuff like that that
Yeah.
start popping up, and, you know, it may come into effect a little bit there, but,
Yeah.
you know, I don't foresee it a whole lot happening, but.
I think in 6 years, this is the first
So-
time I've
so-
been asked
so
that.
you
and the
think
girls
they're
up
gonna
front
want
can't
water
even
without
remember being
sewer?
asked, so.
Not water,
Do
Yes, there's.
do what now?
You think they're gonna want water without sewer too? If they can't use, they can use water, but they may not be able to use the,
Well, they would have to
That would be
pass,
utility.
yeah,
That would be.
and they would have to pass inspection, the health department, and everything, to get their water turned on. I don't think they would probably turn it on without, unless it was a barn or something, you know, that you're
A
not living
hydrant
in.
outside just to
Yeah.
get water out of it, if they would
Yeah.
need it, I don't know,
But the plumbing inspector.
but that's a good
they-
question. I mean, it kinda opens the door for all kinds of questions, really.
right. Especially breaking down that
Yeah.
part of the utilities bill.
Like I said, it's, like Lori said too, this is the first time we can think of it's happened, that somebody's asked about it. Of course, I
Right.
mean, a lot of people, within a month's time, hope to be in their house.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and-
Well, I'm sure some of them are using garbage pickup if they're building a house.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean-
And you would hope that within a month's time that you would be in your house, but, you know, sometimes it takes a little longer, I guess. but
Yeah.
told them we'd
Generally,
ask.
generally, if they asking for that heat and everything, they're trying to get the moisture out of the air and do
Right.
some work, some final working stuff in, so.
So y'all can think about that if you want,
You guys wanna
or
I think
whatever.
table that
I
and?
don't know, I think it's a good idea to
Yeah,
try
I
to help
think
the
it-
people out as much as we can.
Right.
Okay.
I would recommend go ahead and voting on it, and then I
Okay.
can amend the ordinance if that's something you just want to be a standard from here on out.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to.
I make a motion.
So what is it, using gas on new residents? What about refurbish?
Well, if I'm remodeling
What
one.
about remodeling? What about
No.
New construction.
New
I think is what I was-
construction.
new
Just
construction
new
only?
construction.
Yeah, because
That's
if
what I'd
it's
suggest.
remodeling, I mean, they've got a service that's already been on there once before. And, you know, as far as a new construction, I mean, you're taking a new lot, you're adding a new customer. So I think it should be just strictly new construction.
Yeah.
You can set a time limit.
Do we need a time limit?
I mean, I don't know, I'm just asking.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know that you need.
I
One
think once
person
they
may
move
get
in,
done
we start
faster than
picking
the
up.
other one does. It's according to who's building the.
Yeah, I mean, it could take them a couple, 2 or 3 months, depending on stuff, I guess, but
So what would be
That's-
the signaling point to start charging them? When they come in and ask to have their water turned on? Would that be
or
our?
the garbage picked up. Of course, my guys won't pick it up, but, you know, if they know there's a house being built right here and we're not picking up garbage, they won't pick it up. Even if you set it out there, if they know that they're not supposed to get that, they won't get it. They'll call and ask, did they start paying, or, you know, something, because a lot of times you have stuff, people get shut off.
I don't know that
So-
water would be the signal that turns it on, because, correct me if I'm wrong, there's some Grayson County Water District
Yeah.
territory
Okay.
inside the city limits,
Right,
so that's not
several.
always gonna trigger
Not
it.
gonna trigger.
I think, yeah, because they're supposed to get a certificate of occupancy whenever they move into residence.
Right.
Okay.
So,
And if they need
There you
pickup before then, they can come in and let us know. I mean, it's not just like we're just, everybody's building, you don't have to worry about it. They'll have to come in and talk to us anyway, and then we can explain to them, you know, once you need service picked or garbage picked up, let us know, or once Tyler's there, then it's automatically.
Yeah.
Did somebody make a motion?
Alan, they did, but Alan had something.
Why can't you make it standard across the board, give them 2 months or 3 months where it automatically gets turned on, and you don't have to worry about anybody remembering anything?
Good.
that's what I was.
You know, to help a new customer out, a new house or whatever, make it a standard 2 month or 3 month, there, it automatically gets turned on.
I still think something's gonna have to trigger it, cause I mean, you've got Alicia and Tammy that deal with 3,000
Yes.
customers. They're not gonna remember that
And they
3
might
months
not
down
even-
the
Well,
road.
if we did something like that, is there not a reminder that they could put
They
on
could
the
put
calendar
something
or
on
somewhere?
They
to-
could put it on their calendar, but I still think.
Yeah, I think that we can take care of that.
Yeah,
You're not gonna have 1 or 2 every once in a while, so it's not gonna be a,
Their calendar could disappear like mine did last Friday. I lost all my emails, my calendar, my contacts, everything.
I like the idea of when Tyler issues the
Yeah,
certificate of occupancy, because
Yeah.
that's when you're.
if somebody comes in and we do this, then I can let Tyler know too that we're holding on garbage until their certificate of occupancy comes in or something, so. And like I said, you're not gonna have an open, you know, it's not like 30 or 40 people at a time. You're gonna have 1 here, 1 there, you know, occasionally.
But like you said,
So-
there are areas that could be subdivisions here
Oh, yeah, I mean, you could
before
easily
long,
have,
so I don't wanna.
we hope there's a bunch being built.
You okay
I'm
with that,
optimistic.
Tyler? You okay with that?
Yeah.
Aren't you glad you came today, Tyler? It's another job.
All right, so we had a motion to do that. Do we want to put any type of time limit on it, or we want to just leave it up to certificate of occupancy? And
Leave it
I
up
think
to.
that's what we do.
fine,
Occupancy.
yeah.
I think it should be.
Tyler's pretty reliable. So,
'Cause they
so
might-
we had a motion. Who made the motion? Was it Clayton? Have we got a second to do that?
I'll second it, nobody.
Second by Billy, all in favor?
That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Wes. The last thing on our agenda is, I want to get business cards for all the council members. So if you would, let Lori know as soon as you can what you want on your business card.
I got everybody's
She already
You got everybody?
information
Good
before the
deal.
meeting, so
Okay.
we're good there.
Good, okay. All right. If there's not any new business, then I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Whoa.
Oh, Lori, not Lori, I'm sorry, Tammy, needs a vote for her to be able to go ahead with the Little League. I think that was discussed at the last meeting. And there is a constitution that will need a signature from the mayor. So if we could take a vote to allow the mayor to sign that constitution.
Okay. Take a
What's it
motion.
say?
I've got a copy of it. I can provide it to the council. Do you want a table and I bring it to the next meeting?
I don't care if you just email it to me. If we gotta have it, we gotta have it. I mean, I just wondered what it said.
Why don't we put that on the next agenda, and that
I
way it
think
can
we
be in
may
the
have-
packet, and everybody can get a chance to read it over.
Need to get them registered soon enough, so that I definitely have to do the next council meeting.
Okay.
And I think there may be a special call
That's
at
what I was
some
getting ready
point.
to
We can
say.
put it on there.
Dependent, we may end up having a special call meeting. I think maybe Sabrina, I don't know if she mentioned, no, because you probably hadn't seen her.
No.
Because she'd already left. We're hoping he'll have the audit done. Fingers crossed, but he's got COVID right now, so that's gonna put us back a little bit longer. She was hoping to have it done before she left for Florida on February 1st, so, you know, if he gets it done, we may want to try and have a special call meeting, and if we do that, we can add anything that's kind of lingering out there
Okay.
to that meeting.
Okay.
Is there anybody else that would like a copy of the Constitution?
I think send it to all of us.
Yeah, I think he's got all of them.
I can scan it and, well, Lori can help me scan because she's, I'm not the best scanner and all, but,
Shoot it out to him.
yeah.
You have an email for everyone, Lauren?
Yes.
Yeah, don't you too?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
About the city council stuff.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Any more? All right, if not, I'll entertain a
I'll
motion to
make a
adjourn.
motion.
Clayton, second.
Second.
Tootie, second. All in favor?